It is undeniable that social media has become a huge aspect of modern society. Today, 92% of teenagers are online every day, and in total, 31% of the global population engage in social media. With rapid advancements in technology and the evolution of social media, there is no surprise that it has seen an increase in users. In terms of active users, Instagram ranks in the top 10 social network sites worldwide. The social media platform has seen huge developments since its creation. What previously was just a place to post photos has transformed into so much more than that now.
Joseph Shayde noted that most scholars seem to agree that the term self-concept denotes the totality of the individual's thoughts and feelings having reference to himself as an object. However, self-concept has been treated from various points of view. Generally, self-concept has been construed from a multi-dimensional perspective: actual self, ideal self, and social self. Actual self refers to how a person perceives themselves. Ideal self refers to how a person would like to perceive themselves. And social self refers to how a person presents themselves to others. Shayde also stated that the self-concept is of value to the individual, and behaviour will be directed towards the protection and enhancement of self-concept. The consuming behaviour of an individual will be directed towards enriching self-concept through consumption. All three of the dimensions come into play when considering the influence of self-concept and social media use. Although this tends to differ among various consumers. For example, self-concept may play a larger role in social media Instagram accounts for some compared to that of others.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely changes the type of images I post or how I edit my photos as to how I want to be perceived.
I think the only reason people would post on Instagram is because they want people to see themselves in a specific way. Like if you look particularly good in a photo, you'd want people to see that and think, wow, she looks good, you know?
You paint a picture that people want to see,
Yeah.
kind of like, so you build around that. I mean, like you look at what you want to like become or be, and sort of like when you try and post photos to get that sort of thing, or have that perception from people.
I definitely post something that I'm more confident about. If I feel like, I want people to see that I went to this event or I did this, so I would definitely post those type of things. But I won't post things that happen in my everyday life, like my lunch that I ate today or something, for example.
Instagram is an image-based form of social media. Users can only make photo or video posts and caption these posts. This somewhat limits the way users can perform self compared to other social media platforms. For example, Facebook enables users to post photos, videos, text posts, and share other users' content. Instagram also differs from other social media through its privacy settings. Similar to Twitter, the default profile is public, meaning the post can be seen by anyone, whereas Facebook users' profiles are generally more private and posts can be limited to friends only. Instagram allows users to make their profiles private also, meaning they have to accept follower requests, allowing only followers to see their posts. The execution of these privacy settings can be seen as a part of how users perform self. The difference between having a private account and a public account give off certain portrayals of who their ideal self is, a private person or someone who is open to sharing themselves with the world. This can also be portrayed through what users decide to post and how they filter themselves.
I feel like Instagram is very specific. Like you post like one photo, whereas like Facebook you upload like a whole album of like your year, or like your say I went on holiday and post like a couple photos on Instagram, whereas like on Facebook I probably post like 30 or something. On Instagram I'm more about trying to gain likes, let's be honest. It's more about, trying to showing what you want your life to be like, whereas on Facebook it's more realistic.
I would post a lot of photos on Instagram, and then I would post a photo on Facebook maybe every 3 to 6 months, I would say.
Yeah, I'll probably be the same. And then you put more up on Instagram, like what you're doing. Like it's like a photo journal versus like Facebook. You put up that stuff that you want your family members to see, like to cover all the bases.
Back in the day, probably posted photos a lot for likes. These days more how people perceive me. I think I used to post a lot of photos of random things, like if I was baking a cake or something, I'd post photos of that, but now it's just more personal photos, I suppose. A lot less food shots. Yeah, a lot more photos of me and my friends.
Jeez. Yours is more of a peoplegram.
Yeah.
Yours is definitely like it's photos of yourself
Yeah.
versus a scenic gram. I guess.
Irving Goffman is an extremely recognised sociologist in relation to the self concept due to his work on dramaturgy. To Goffman, this concept can be described as the world being a stage that we are all actors in, with each actor having a front and back stage, or in other words, a public and private self. Irving Goffman also suggests that this front stage, or public self, is frequently being criticised by others to portray an idealised version of their self. Although dramaturgy is a concept that was studied by Goffman in his 1956 book, Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, it is still studied by scholars who apply it to modern topics, such as the presentation of self on social media platforms, including Instagram. In the article, All the Web's a Stage, author Jamie R. Ricco states that every person who interacts through social networking sites has the opportunity to perform an ideal self, one that will attract friends, followers, and even critics.
Dramaturgy can be applied to Instagram users' posting habits with regards to front stage and backstage, or the public or private self. The front stage can be seen as a user's profile where they post images that present a snapshot into their lives or what they want their followers to see. The front stage is an important aspect in the social self dimension of self-concept, as this is what users are showing and how they wish to be perceived by their peers. The backstage is the process that the user goes through to prepare these pictures and what they want to share on their profile. In recent times, editing applications and filters have become more popular to help present an idealised social self to one's peers and don't always represent a true picture of a user's life.
Time of day and captions are a big one. You've got to have a good caption for a photo, so it's quite difficult to choose a caption. Time of day, probably just to get like peak views and maybe likes if you're into the likes. Sometimes I am. Definitely the captions. I want to get people to actually know what I'm doing and the time I post for sure.
Time of day, I think is that's the one I'd have to admit to. You definitely post like either in the morning or you post in the evening or like early afternoon.
Why is that?
No one sees it otherwise. So I just want more people to see it because for me, more often than not, it's photos I take versus photos of me. Sometimes it's photos of me.
Sometimes I post a photo and if it's not a good photo I'll delete it after a couple minutes of posting it because I'm just like nervous about how people perceive me in that photo.
Facebook, like the Instagram feed itself, like you look at what's on there, it's like, oh, is it gonna be seen or is it just gonna be scroll past sort of thing? You want people to stop and look.
Social media platforms such as Instagram assist users in constructing an idealized self-image they wish to portray to their peers. Instagram has changed in recent years, with users focusing a lot more on external factors such as filters and captions to present this image. Joseph Sergi and Irving Goffman's work on the self-concept and dramaturgy give an academic insight into why some users construct images this way and how important it is to present oneself in an ideal social way.